Steering Wheel Award. Not forgetting a huge honour from Italy. A panel of 12 Italian styling gurus reckon this is the most beautiful car in the world, and they preferred it to the Jaguar S-Type. Praise indeed. Here at home, the reaction's not been so eulogistic. What Car may have dubbed it their car of the year, but Car weren't too complimentary, while our sister magazine didn't really like it at all. Well, let's forget what the British press think for a moment and ask the British public instead.
Old man's car, really. That's about it. I wouldn't have one.
I wouldn't expect to be excited by it, I'm afraid.
I wouldn't like to drive in a Rover. Old man's car. Doesn't suit my image.
Horrible.
A bit square, really, a bit boring. Not particularly trendy, I don't think. It's a bit old-fashioned, I think.
Clearly, Rover has a bit of an image problem in the UK. That quintessentially British quality gets translated into one word: old. And that's exactly the point of the new 25, 45 and 75, to drag the brand kicking and screaming into the millennium and inject it with some badly needed desirability. Which is hard when some journalists get seriously spiteful. Last year, a tabloid newspaper ran a story knocking Rover, claiming there were two things you could see clearly from space: the Great Wall of China and fields full of unwanted Rover 75s. Well, there are not fields full of unsold and unwanted 75s, far from it. Rover have so far managed to shift 7,500, which means that this car is outselling things like the Vauxhall Omega, the Alfa 156, the Audi A6 and even the S-Type Jag. So it's doing the numbers, and the sort of numbers most motor moguls would sell their children for. This is all very confusing. Johnny Foreigner loves the 75, but the British press and public don't. So who's right? You know, the Italians might have something. This isn't the most beautiful car in the world, but it is nonetheless damned handsome. This high belt line makes the car look more important. The scalloped doors down here, they're a styling cue from the old P5. And lots of chrome, not too much, but just enough. We like chrome mirrors, we like chrome door handles, and it might surprise you to know that this car drives almost as well as it looks. This is the 137-mile-an-hour 2.5 V6 Connoisseur, 24 grand's worth of what Rover would like to claim is the best front-wheel drive saloon in the world. It's not the best, but it's not half bad. The interior may be a riot of borrowed styling themes, but it is very cosy and very welcoming. The red gauges are like a log fire. You could always warm your hands on them. You've got big leather armchairs, very welcoming. You've even got some wood panelling on the walls. All it needs is some horse brasses, a thatched roof and roses round the door, and you'd have your own country cottage. Look, I like it. It's quiet, smooth riding, cosseting, and it insulates you from the wild and whirling world. This is that rare thing, a Rover that makes you feel special. Now might be an appropriate time to say stay with us, because in a few minutes we'll be looking at the last model of this trinity, the 45. Has Rover scored a hat-trick? All will be revealed.
If you're an avid Top Gear follower, you will know that the Lotus Elise is one of my favourite cars. It not only looks superb, but it's also one of the most rewarding any petrolhead will have the pleasure of driving. And that is why I absolutely love this car. It has one of the best chassis of any car ever. And at £22,500, it's a fraction of the price of a Porsche or a Ferrari. It most certainly is at the very top of my wish list. But now there is a cheaper, lighter, two-seater road-going racer on the market that has the potential to knock the Elise from my #1 spot. It's called the Ariel Atom, and it looks as though it's been dropped from another planet. It's not designed for those who are on the shy side or who want a bit of comfort. This Atom is best described as minimalist. This Atom has no roof, no doors, no windscreen, no carpet, no heater, no stereo. And for heaven's sake, I'm sitting on plastic seats. But it is an awful lot of fun. Powering this very radical-looking car is the same 1.8-litre K-Series engine that's in the entry-level Elise and the Rover MGS. It dishes out 118 brake horsepower, and this thing has a trump card because it is an awful lot lighter than even the entry-level Elise, and therefore it'll do 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, where the Elise takes a little over 6. It definitely has elements of being a single-seater racing car about it. The pedals are very close together, and the gear shifts are bong, straight in, no messing around. Steering is incredibly tight. It's just 1.5 turns log to log. But that's what's so lovely about it, because it means that you are totally aware of exactly the direction the front tires are pointing and are totally in control most of the time with how the car is behaving.
This £17,000 Rip Snorter will appeal to hardcore driving enthusiasts who probably own another, more sensible car. With the explosion of interest in thrashing your own cars around racing circuits, the Atom couldn't have emerged at a better time.
So, has it knocked the Elise from my top spot? Well, I am tempted. But as I need all the help I can get in the looks department, it's a bit too minimalist for everyday use. It is ideal as a fair weather friend though, and perfect as a track car.
So, time for the final curtain in our Rover drama. Can the last act be as good as the first two? Is the 45 as bewitching and entertaining as the 25 and 75? Well, there's only one way to find out. The 45 range starts at £12,000 for the 1.4, rising to nearly £19,000 for the 2-litre V6 connoisseur, and comes as a 4-door saloon or hatchback. We've chosen the 150 brake V6 with the 5-speed Steptronic Auto because it's potentially the most interesting. Mind you, it's also the most expensive, at a heart-stopping 18 grand. But first impressions are encouraging. The 2-litre V6 makes all the right noises, and this sequential automatic is an absolute joy to use. You just bang away at the lever, down to 4th, down to 3rd, down to 2nd, and it all feels very slick indeed. What it doesn't feel, however, is fast. That's not to say it can't motor. Top tilt is a decent 127 miles an hour, but order up some beans from the engine room and 60 takes a fairly pedestrian 9 and a bit seconds. That's almost the same as a humble Astra 1.8. So if you're looking for something with some serious urge, I'm afraid this isn't it. And if you expect the same agreeable interior furnishings on the 45 as you get on the 75, you're going to be very, very disappointed. The dashboard is strewn with 80s switches that look like they've just been hurled like boiled sweets and just stuck there. And look, this is the mat from the centre console. This is an £18,000 car. And look, the passenger's electric window switch is down here. It's lazy, it's unimaginative, and it's dull. Sorry, you've got to try harder on this one. In fact, the only part of the 45 where there is any discernible improvement is the chassis. Wider wheels, new springs and dampers, plus fatter anti-roll bars make it feel much more tied down and responsive. Shame the engine doesn't have the grunt to match. But to be fair, the 45 is a huge improvement on the old 400. It's well spec'd, it's got a 3-year warranty, it drives reasonably well. But it's no match for the Golf and the Focus. And I look at this and it reminds me of a middle-aged uncle in Nike trainers. It's the sort of car you buy if you can't afford a BMW 3 Series. But, and here's the rub, at 18 grand, you can. But hey, 2 out of 3 isn't a bad score. The 45 may be only average, but the 75 and 25 are genuinely good cars. Which brings me round to the question that I've been hiding from all day. Is this gang of three going to be special, separate and distinctive enough to guarantee Rover's future? Well, I suppose that's up to you. If you go out and buy them in your droves, then Rover will survive. If you don't, well, we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed. But personally, I hope Rover make it. Next week, Tiff and Vicky test a basket full of hot hatches to find out who really wears the crown.
Top Gear is sponsored by Vortex, the performance-enhancing fuel from Caltex.
The world news is